Ah, good evening, everybody. It's going to be on Rumble tonight with Killer Carl. He had a last minute change of plans. So I decided to go ahead, and since I posted that I'd go ahead and do a quick live stream myself tonight. Just a little quickie, just to get out there. And I had some stuff I was going to talk about on Killer Carl's live stream anyway. So I already had some notes made up. So I figured I'd go ahead and do a quick live stream tonight, and let's talk about what's going on. Some things I haven't got listed tonight because it was some other things that I was wanting to talk about. But you know, let's just talk about what's going on. Yeah, hey, Al, how you doing? Um, so what's up, Minnesota? ID. Yeah, guys, I got. Sorry for the last minute notice on the live stream tonight. Like I said, I was going to be on. I posted it. I was going to be on Killer Carl's, but he had the last minute change of plans. He had to do something, so I figured I'd just jump on here. And some of the things that I was going to talk with Carl about tonight, I figured I'd just get on here and let's throw some information out there and talk about what's going on now. Saying this, the last stream I live stream I had, I talk about how dangerous the left is. We consider them clowns. We consider them, not based in reality. A lot of them don't believe what they say, uh, especially the politicians. They don't believe anything they're saying. Uh, but between that and the mainstream media, they've literally convinced the weaker minded individuals of our population. So they drink the Kool-Aid, and instead of just drinking one cup, they're drinking the whole pitcher. Saying that, like I said, we consider them clowns, but they're dangerous clowns. Case in point, and not even the deal with like the protesting or the violent protesting or the attacks on the Tesla dealerships or anything like that. That's not the dangerous part, believe it or not. That is not the dangerous part. The dangerous part is when they kill. There's That's something you can't take back. That's something, if you get in trouble and you destroy somebody's uh, property, you can pay restitution. You can basically, even if you have remorse, you have an ability to pay back to make it right with the individual that you've wronged. You can't do that when somebody has killed somebody. Case in point, now I don't know what you guys think about Alex Jones or Infowars or anything like that. Uh, but he has employees, he has reporters, just like any news outlet, whether you agree with his way of his partake on the news or how he goes about doing things. But uh, in many instances, in the past, um, he's been found to be correct. Kind of like President Trump, he'll say something bombastic, and then a few months, even a few years down the road, you find out that he was not incorrect. So when somebody who is just an employee of somebody like Alex Jones, just doing their job, a reporter. So what happened? Sunday night. Even Alex Jones had a hard time talking about this Monday. But Sunday night, a reporter of his, I thought I had his name written down. I believe his name was Adam. Found when he went home in the parking lot of his apartment building, was confronted by a gunman and lost his life simply for being a reporter for InfoWars. They're clowns, but they're dangerous clowns. I mean, it's between, and you know, people make threats on both sides. I'm sure there are some people on the right that troll left-wing personalities like AOC or somebody. I'm sure there is some people who are not mentally all there that make these unhinged threats towards people. But let's be honest, the left is far more extreme and far more in number that not just make these threats, but follow through with them. Because how many crazy right-wing people have taken the life of somebody that's prominent, even just an employee of somebody on the left? You struggle to find any information of that actually being the case. And I'm sure there's probably someone out there that has done that, but it's not to the number or the craziness. I mean, people forget, because you always hear somebody on the right, including myself, when they talk about Civil War or something like that, it's like, we're a better shot, whatever, because we grew up with guns. It's part of our lifestyle or whatever that may be. They own guns too. And for those who haven't always owned a gun, because they're not right in the head, purchase guns and start practicing and practice and practice and practice. Not like the rest of us. So I go to the gun range. I do that every now and then, but I'm not obsessive with it. So we need to be aware of our surroundings, because even somebody that's a nobody like me, it is because they're not right in the head, it could happen. Especially with my stance on the Haitians in my town and stuff like that. It's a dangerous position to have when you stand up for something and the left is a little crazy. Well, they're not a little crazy. They're batshit crazy. So I say this to anybody. You may not think that people pay attention to your point of view or anything like that, with as the obsession that they have with their, after they've drank a whole pitcher of their Kool-Aid. It is possible. Anybody can be a target of these craziness. These people that we usually call clowns. Now, it's okay to call your politicians clowns, because we know they don't believe in what they're saying. But they're dangerous clowns because people are listening to what they're saying and they're believing in what they're saying. In Minnesota, that's cool. You can build your own range. I live in a town. I don't live out in the country. I don't have a lot of property, so I have to go to the range, and it costs money to go to the range. So it's not something that you do on a regular basis. But I do try to do it from time to time to keep my aim good. If anything, to keep my uh, weapon sight corrected. Because I'm not the neighbor that you really want to have a problem with and confront me with some kind of bullshit. Uh, but saying that, I am a good neighbor because I would also protect my neighbors as well. So, what's this, Terry? You live in a housing for seniors. I don't dare tell them I am for Trump. They get triggered easily. You know what's crazy about that, Terry, is seniors. It is amazing. And I get it. People vote with their interests. Because when you're a senior, as am I, uh, benefits mean something. But the thing of it is I believe that, I hate when they call like Social Security and stuff entitlement. It's an entitlement for somebody who's in their 20s and 30s getting it. It's an earned entitlement when you've reached the age of being able to draw on it because you paid into it. Now, granted, mine's a little bit earlier than some because of my disability, but I paid a lot of taxes in my, and I'm not, and I never was to have that. A lot of people, and I don't want to mean to jump around here, but it's amazing how many people want to complain about the rich not paying their fair share. And you know who usually bitches about that? It's the people who pay no taxes. The people who they'll pay their taxes through their income, every week. Their taxes get taken out of their check or whatever. But then they get it all back at the end of the year. And if you have kids, depending on how many children you have, you get more than what you paid in, which I've always had a problem with that. I don't mind if a low income family or an individual gets little to all their money back, or a good portion of all of it back, whatever you want to say it. So, but when you get back more than you paid in, so that's taken away from benefits, entitlements. So it makes it harder to pay these other things for somebody who needs help with, and those who truly need help with Section 8 or food assistance or, just whatever it may be, disability, whatever. It takes away from that. So for that, our tax code is ridiculous. I'm a firm believer of flat tax. But getting back to what I was saying is these people, they drink the Kool-Aid and they complain about people who make a large income or own businesses or whatever. And the thing is like Elon Musk is a good example. I hear him on there saying, the politicians saying, Elon Musk don't pay taxes. Yes, he does. He's actually made that public one time, and because people get tired of hearing these lies about themselves. So what Elon Musk pays in 1 year in taxes is more than what my entire town earns, not just pay taxes, but their total income. Everybody who works in this entire town, Elon Musk pays more in taxes in 1 year. So it's a double-edged sword. Pay their fair share. Corporate taxes and income tax is two different things. People tend to forget that. Our tax code it's depending on who's in office, is either good for corporations or bad for corporations. The thing of it is if you had a flat tax, that would eliminate so much stupidity and fraud. Because if you have taxes that you know you're going to have to pay, and you don't have to worry about did you save this, like if you donate, so even if you're just a regular income tax, not corporate, I'm talking about income tax. If you donate money and you don't save or if you turn clothes in or whatever to a local, like Salvation Army or something like that, it's always in your best interest to save all the things you get from them for your taxes. So a flat tax would eliminate. I mean, have you ever seen how big the tax code is as far as paper? If you printed it all out, for one thing, it would take a day or two to print out, if not longer. It depends on how fast your printer is, I guess. But you literally could have a big fold-out table, and more likely the table would collapse by the weight of the paper for how big our tax code is. You think I'm exaggerating? Look into it sometime. You'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, Squeaky. It's that whole KISS situation. Keep it simple, stupid. Well, and they say like Trump doesn't pay his taxes. Yes, he does. He uses the tax code to his benefit, just like anybody else who owns a business or businesses. They use the tax code to their benefit, including when Hillary Clinton was accusing him of all that, not paying enough taxes. But she does the same thing. All these Democrats do the same thing. You think all these multi-millionaire congressmen and women don't use the tax code to their benefit? You think they pay their fair share? Because if you look, I say it all the time, look at the politicians over the last 2 decades. Actually, you go 40 years on some of them, like Pelosi. Look what they were worth when they started, and then look what they're worth now. Case in point, I say it all the time, AOC, just a bartender, struggling to pay her college tuition or college loan. It's now worth almost $29 million less than 8 years later in Congress. This is why they had a problem with this USAID deal, because that was the first, not the only, but the first thing of what they were using slush fund money for, was to do all this basically payback. They do this for this little project, and this project, and the people in it find ways to get money back into the pocket of the people that promoted it for them. Well, Minnesota, you're probably right. A lot of politicians do hide their money overseas, but look at the amount that we have record of that you see posted all the time in the public sphere of social media. I mean, we'll just go with the top three that is well known: President Trump, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. Out of those three, and I can't remember what Hillary's worth now, but over 100 million, I do believe. But she had, I think she was only like $2 or $3 million, and you got to remember her husband was president before that. So, but let's take President Trump, who was worth 4 point something $billion, is now worth 3.4 billion or something like that. Look at Barack Obama, was worth like 3 million, I think, and now he's worth like $40+ million. So the politicians are always disingenuous. The problem is, and with their help with the little minions at the mainstream media, is they had these people who are weak-minded drink the Kool-Aid. And then people like this reporter for InfoWars loses their life. Crazy. Savage, I'm going to get into the Canadians here in a minute. I just wanted to touch base on this. No matter who you are, if you're, like a person in your area that's watching this, if you're a person well known for your political leanings or whatever in your areas, be mindful. Be very mindful of your surroundings, because these people are crazy. So, that'd be the first thing I want to talk about. We got to do that. Now, y'all know about the cyber attack on X the other day. And, X was up, it was down, it was up, it was down. But the concerning thing about this, but it doesn't surprise me, is where did they trace the origins of this cyber attack from? Ukraine. Because we all know Zelensky did not want President Trump to win. I mean, when a foreign leader comes to this country and campaigns, gets up and does a stump speech for the opposing party, at the time it was Joe Biden, that's a conflict of interest, because instead of just coming here and addressing the American people of wanting or needing the American people's help, all he felt like he needed to do was make sure that he kept the Democrat in office. And it's the American politician is who he's pleading to, not the American people. So saying that, I believe that it's also said that NATO had something to do with this too. Believe it or not NATO, but like the UN. I don't want to conflict the two, but the UN, the people in the UN had something that was promoting this deal. When President Trump talks about getting out of these things like that, and basically separating ourselves from the rest of the world. I've said it before. The only reason that the rest of the world, some of them that act like they're our friends, is because we're the only country that I know of that pays to have friends. Because if you take away the money, which is what's happening right now, and a lot of people showing their true colors, a lot of these other countries, they're pissed. They are pissed. Yeah, Terry, it's NATO too, but I mean, it's the I was going by the members of the United Nations, not necessarily the fourth of NATO, but the members. Yeah, Terry, the thing about Starlink is, see, the thing they did you, we gave them Starlink, but in Zelensky's eyes, it's the money that means most to him because he's selling his people down the road. I mean, he don't care about their lives. He doesn't care about any of that. He wants that money. What's up, Rusty? And so these things like this cyber attack, boy, they really are going hard on Elon. I feel so bad for the man. It's hard. People say, well, how you feel bad for the richest person in the world? Money ain't everything, guys. If they could take his life right now, they would. Y'all know that. Sorry, I was reading Don's chat there, guys. I apologize. Um, I mean, and it's not the fact that like these people who are setting fire to these charging stations or you know uh, damaging these trucks, setting fire to the trucks, uh, you know, shooting up these dealerships. Uh, to me, it's not the cost of what they're doing because let's be honest, that's to the richest man in the world. Uh, that's not the big issue here. The big issue is the safety of the people in his world. Even though the dealerships, they're their own thing, but they still represent his company, and their lives are put at risk because of their association with Elon. Yeah, Minnesota. I think I just seen that just before I come on about the ceasefire agreement, and I have to look more into that. I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't catch enough of it to whether that was actually 100% true or not that they were already making an agreement on that. But I seen where um, so instead of saying it in front of a camera, which is what really takes the balls, Zelensky sends an apology letter to President Trump. Come on now, that's kind of weak. If you're going to really apologize to somebody, apologize to somebody. A letter is a start, but that's not where that should end. But President Trump trying to get this deal done is going, I don't really care if he apologizes. I want to make part of America's investment into their country backed by the rare minerals deal and get a ceasefire started so they can work towards a permanent peace agreement. So, and I hope I'm not jumping too far off track here. What I started with the cyber attack on X, and where the people of the, and I say the UN, but the people of the EU, and we you hear the left talk about all President Trump shitting on all of our international friends. Don't you think they shit on us and smile while they're doing it? Case in point, tariffs. Everybody acts like we're imposing tariffs on everybody. I've got a video to play on that here in a little bit on the tariff deal. The people don't seem to realize, like even Canada, the tariffs they impose on us. And the thing about that is, okay, so now you had the gentleman in Ontario saying they're going to shut the electric off if Trump imposes tariffs on Canada. What does making a tariffs means that it's going to cost a little more to bring something into the country on the company that's making the product. Okay, so raising prices on something, you tell me how that compares to cutting the electricity off on some U.S. citizens. Where does one have anything to do with the other? So you're complaining about possibly having your companies have to pay a little more to have their products sold in this country, which it gets passed on to the consumer, whatever. All this stuff's going to hurt a little bit, guys. Anybody who thinks it don't or it won't, you're kind of wrong. But you gotta. It takes a little bit of pain to get better in the long run. But the thing is think about this. So you impose tariffs. They're going to shut the electric off. I forget, it's like the upper state New York or whoever is going to be affected by it. How many people have elderly family members that still live at home, but they have this emergency stay better, if I'm saying this correctly. My mom had it, even though she was on a budget, so they had to give her an electric bill on a budget because they wasn't allowed to shut the electric off because of her medical needs. Now think about the people that would be affected if the Canada cut off the electric to these homes here in the United States, in New York. You hear the left say it all the time, like on this budget proposal or DOGE, looking into finding fraud, waste, and abuse in the Medicaid, Medicare system. It's gonna kill people. President Trump and Elon Musk and them whatever they're doing is going to cause people to die. Well, would not that be the exact same thing, but a direct result if Canada was to do that? Also, it's 3 states. Sorry, Minnesota. I only heard about New York. So, Upper Michigan, Minnesota, and Canada, or excuse me, New York, gets electric from Canada. That is a direct cause and effect. Not no speculation or you think it's going to do this or you think it's going to do that. That's an actual thing that if they did this, it will cause that. Anybody disagree with me? Do you see where a tariff war has anything to do with shutting electricity off to people. And I'm kind of perplexed on that anyway. Why isn't American cities getting their electric from a foreign country? Now I realize they're at our border, you know. It's not like they're shipping something in or whatever. But it seems like it I think it's because we've gotten too comfortable thinking Canada is our friend. I hate to tell anybody this. When it comes to the they're going to do what benefits their country, and the effects on another country like us is not their concern. Their concern is to their people and to their country. Same as Mexico, you know. So why would we not assume that they would sell us down the river in a heartbeat to benefit them? I say we have to treat everybody as best case scenario a competitor, worst case scenario, not even the worst case scenario. You got competitor, an adversary, and then an enemy. You got those three categories that I would put most of these other countries in. So we have a president that once steps up and says, hey, our government has gut our country from the inside out. They've made all these deals with all these other countries in the the pursuit of globalism. What is it they say? You know, uh, one country can't do it on their own anymore. It's a global community. Yes and no. We don't need nobody else's military to protect us. But all these other countries that are shitting on us, they need NATO and they need us because it takes that whole group to protect them, and we don't need them at all. If we was to pull out of that and start really manufacturing things back in this country, manufacturing things by Americans to sell to Americans and to other countries who want to make a deal, but it's guaranteed it'll be not as many as you think once all this money stops flowing into these countries in the form of foreign aid. I mean, we still subsidize Canada, and they have the balls to say if Trump finally puts towards tariffs on products that, and like I'm gonna get into the tariffs that they put up towards us already. People don't either know it or don't care to know it, uh, or they probably care but didn't realize it. Um, but it's it's ridiculous to think that we should. I mean, we've got products we can't even sell in other countries because they won't let our products in there. But for decades, our government has sold us down the river, and some of our corporations too. Because and other corporations that are making things outside the country, they're doing it for survival of their companies because it costs so much to build stuff in this country for regulations for one thing, and among a host of other reasons, taxes. I mean, there's just the list. You can make a pretty decent list of why it's more. It's for a corporation's betterment to make things outside the country and bring it back in here. My thing is, we've lost sight of what it takes to make a strong country. I've said it, and I'm not the smartest guy, but I've been saying it since I was a young man. You have to make something to be strong. You have to create things. You can't survive off of an economy of just service industries. You have to create things because service industries don't. You can't. It's like when you go and work at McDonald's. You are not selling your hamburger to uh, the UK or somebody. You're selling it to the person that lives in the same country you live in. Now, granted, the McDonald's and they're all over the world, but you get what I'm saying. A service job, a service economy cannot build a strong economy. It just doesn't make economic sense. I mean, not like I said, I'm not the smartest guy, but I know that you have to create things, make things that the rest of the world want or need. We farmed it all out. Our politicians have been selling us down the river for decades. Decades. The reason why younger people don't see this is because they've never lived in an America where we were manufactured strong. After World War II, our country was booming. And then it started going away in the 70s. It started really getting gutted a little bit in the 80s. In the 90s, with the inception of NAFTA, it pretty much, instead of slicing our wrist this way, it started cutting it up this way. We started bleeding jobs. Yeah, Don. Well, no, I wouldn't say I'm not smart. I'm just a high school graduate. I'm not a higher learning person. My vocabulary isn't even that great. I don't have a large vocabulary. I'm dyslexic, by the way. Some of y'all don't know that. So to sit down and read a novel or just to read things to be reading it, I have a hard time doing. But I've learned to learn in other ways. So I know when I educate myself in the way that I know how to educate myself, I think I do a pretty decent job at it. But that's another story. Right now, we have to accept the fact that Canada is not our friend. The people of Canada, the people in the big areas, the your metropolitan areas and all that, they are not our friends. The people who live out in the rural areas of Canada still live like we do. But just as in every country around this world, the bigger the city, the more left leaning it is. Hey, Kim. Oh, Terry, you think I have the gift of gab? I don't know about that. Uh, but here, there's probably some truth to that, Terry. I don't know if it's a gift. If you talk to some of my family members, they'll think it's a curse because sometimes I don't know when to shut up. Um, I usually don't offer my opinion unless I'm asked it. And then I've literally seen my brothers, when somebody asks my opinion, they go, "Oh Lord, no, don't ask him that," because then I give it, and then probably I wouldn't call it a gift sometimes, but the gab starts. But I want to say to the government of Canada, go through with that threat. And I'm sure people have been hearing this term a lot. Uh, Even President Trump has warned you. So I don't think you guys are, most of y'all are not tough. You know, in the rural areas, they're just like the rest of America. They get up every day, they go to work, they take care of their families. But when they get into these larger towns, as in everywhere, they act like the rest of us are stupid. But what I was getting ready to say is, if they do this, they're going to fuck around and find out of why that's probably not in their best interest. Now, what form does that look like? I'll leave that up to the president. I'm sure he's already got plenty of ideas of what he's planning on doing if that was to happen. But I find it to be a little bit evil to threaten something like cutting off electricity to people's homes because you're upset that your companies might have to pay a tariff. 25%. Well, now it's going to be 50, just for the simple fact that even just making that threat, tomorrow it's going up to 50, in case some of you guys haven't seen that. Yeah, you too. That's what I'm saying. 200. We subsidize a country like Canada $200 billion, and I've got a little video. Um, People, you see these politicians like Jasmine Crockett and them uh, talking about like the USAID. Pissed off about that. You notice that they are really they're so angry right now because they're doing away with 83% of the money that was being used for funding for USAID. But they'll tell you those are peanuts. That ain't shit. That's 0.6% of the national budget. What DOGE and Elon Musk and them are doing is a waste of time. It's not enough money to do anything. Well, I beg to differ. I've got a video I'm going to show you. This lady kind of drops it down and spells it out quite correctly of what that money and how much those savings would mean to most of all of us, not just most of us, all of us. Okay, Rusty. See, Rusty's saying something that I did not know of from the time I was making my notes this afternoon to do this live stream tonight. Well, I was going to be on Rumble on another live stream that I was making my notes for. But so the other extra 25% is not going to happen tomorrow because the prime minister has already retracted that statement and is bending the knee. Guess he didn't want to fuck around and find out, did he? So I seen where the previous director, if that's what you want to call him, the person that uh, quit when he found out that DOGE was going to do audit on his department. Or first they said they don't answer to DOGE, they don't answer to Marco Rubio, they don't answer to the president. Well, they FAO FAFO found out about that. Uh, but anyways, so this individual has told the remaining employees, because Marco Rubio kept some of them on, Ellie, I don't have any doubt that most of the Canadian people are friends. Most of my YouTube subscribers or subscriptions that I subscribe to, because I'm a car guy, are all in Canada. I love the Canadian people and their in the car culture there. I do. I love it to death. But the big cities have the same problems our big cities do. The thing is when you mess with one country to the next, you've got to do it. If you're going to threaten something, be able to follow through with it, or don't make the threat at all. Because see what that's done, Elliot, is that's made a lot of people in America pissed off towards Canada, and that's the government's fault there, not the people. And I don't think this thing about the 51st state. I hope you all know that President Trump is trolling your prime minister, and has been. That's a troll. Uh, Canada by itself is a good country. Now, should we be subsidizing Canada for $200 billion a year? I mean, why? I don't get that. You know what I mean? Uh, I got to check something, guys. It looks like it said I just lost internet. So let me see if I've lost my internet. I'm looking real quick. I apologize. Um, if you guys, am I still on? It says I've lost my internet. I'm trying to find out real quick. All right, looks like I'm still good. But so I lost my train of thought now. Upper East Side of Canada is conservative. Okay. And that's a good thing. And and the thing is if things were fair and equal, being a Canadian partner, there's nothing wrong with it, because we do share a border. Well, see, Ellie, most everybody knows that Trump's joking. Uh, but for whatever reason, the left, and I mean our left, uh, is doing the fake outrage over this. And because our left, I don't know about the liberals in your country, I'm sure they are the same, can't take a joke. There's no sense of humor left in them whatsoever at all. But Canada, if Canada and Mexico would be fair and equal partners in all this trade and sharing in the protection of our continent, think about how strong this part of the world. I mean, we already are. Don't get me wrong, but it would be like no other continent in the world. But that's a story for another day. Right now we got to get through the craziness we're living through right now. Um, I hope you, Ellie. I do you realize the tariffs that Canada charges American companies now? before Trump even mentioned the 25% tariffs. Oh, okay, Minnesota. Right. I think where I lost my internet there for a minute, I was trying to figure out where I stopped off at, but okay. So, anyways, yeah, Trump's trolling on the 21st state thing, which is fine. They either can take a joke or they can't. Mad Gun, that's the thing is most countries can't survive a trade war with us. And people think that China can. And China, the only reason they think they have any power is because most of our products in this country are from China. Why is that? Because our politicians have sold us down the damn river for decades. Making it easier for a company to survive, to manufacture that product in another country that is severely lower wage than ours. And because of all the regulations and like I said, the taxes, it goes up and down depending on who's ever in office at the time, and the process. It's went back and forth. I mean, they've been doing it since as far back as I can remember. Reagan, it was a different tax rate back then. It was a different tax rate, with the Clintons, and up through. It changes. It fluctuates. That's why I like the flat tax. So I want to put a cap in the Canadian tariff thing. I've got a video I was going to play on that, and it pretty much talks about what I was talking about with Ellie, is the amount of tariffs that have always been charged to us since NAFTA, I think, is when it started, the big tariff thing. Plus, I get it. You want when you impose tariffs on somebody, yeah, but you see how much Canada charges us. I'm reading a chat for those who ain't seeing it. About milk isn't part of that NAFTA deal. No, but the tariffs are still there. Tariffs do go both ways, Ellie, but the percentage of tariffs, it goes back with that the word reciprocal. Reciprocal, in case those who don't know what that means, I'm sure y'all do. That means you can't charge us any more of a tariff than we can charge you. It has to be equal. And why have a tariff at all if it's equal? And if it's not going to be equal, at least explain why in a way that it makes sense to most people. Because a lot of people get angry when they hear about and I tell you what, I will just play a quick little video on the tariffs that are Canada to us real quick. Let me just do this real quick, and we'll continue on with the conversation. Hang on a second here.
That the U.S. is bullying Canada with 250% for milk, 291% for butter, 208% for whey, 41% for cheese. How could we do this to our neighbor? Oh, wait, those are actually tariffs that Canada imposed on the U.S. last year. Whereas for the same goods, we imposed the following tariffs: 10% for cheese, 10% for butter, 5% for milk, 0% for whey. It's interesting that since Trump announced tariffs, everyone became an econ PhD who's confident that they know exactly what tariffs will do to the economy. But while you've seen Trump fighting for tariffs, you haven't seen that before no one was fighting for us at all on the global scale. Now, how are tariffs going to affect the whole economy over the next year? I don't know. And no one else does either. But I do know that tariffs got Apple to build a new factory and hire 20,000 more Americans. I do know that the word is that Honda is building 210,000 of their next Honda Civics here in America instead of Mexico and giving Americans jobs. I do know that Taiwan Semiconductor announced that they're going to invest $100 billion to build up 5 new chip factories in the US, creating yet more jobs. I do know that tariffs are being used to pressure China, Mexico, and to a lesser extent, Canada, to stop the flow of fentanyl over our border and killing 70,000 Americans a year. Now, here's the thing with tariffs. They're one tactic in an economic strategy, and there are all sorts of ways that that tactic can get used. Sometimes they get deployed for short term, sometimes long term, sometimes they're actually used. And sometimes the threats of them gets used. Sometimes they're used to threaten. Sometimes they're used to generate revenue from other countries so we don't need to tax our citizens so much. Sometimes they're used so that we support farmers here rather than farmers abroad. Sometimes they're used to make companies make weapons that we rely on here rather than China, which is our rival. Sometimes they drive prices up, but wages up too. Is this all making your head spin? Yeah. Me too, because there's a lot to consider. Macroeconomics are complicated, and it takes time to play out. Rather than focusing on every move on the chessboard, we need to all zoom out and ask ourselves, do I think my president wants America to win? Am I listening to people who want my president to fail so that they're proven right, even if that means America goes wrong? Am I willing to tolerate short-term disruption for long-term gain? Look, no one should have blind faith in any leader, but blind negativity just hurts everyone, you included. And remember, if you can't make a strong argument for the opposition against your side, then you're not seeking the truth. You're choosing your tribe.
Okay, so hopefully that probably explains that a little better than I'm doing. Um, we've lost a lot of jobs in this country over farming out everything to be made elsewhere, which, in my opinion, is the tariffs are one thing, but it's a means to an end. And you just seen with all these companies investing in America again to manufacture things here, which is what it takes to be a strong nation. The service economy does not do it. What's up, Fish? So at the end of the day, all this back and forth, all this saber rattling, all this, it's going to hurt us. It's not going to hurt us. They're already, so the stock market has dropped. Well, even over the last almost 4 years, stock market was booming. Could I tell? Did that help me out? It's one thing to have investments, and when the stock market is up or down, if you can afford not to sell your stocks off, don't sell them when they're down, because it will go back up. But they claimed how Trump's already hurting the economy because of the stock market dropping. Did you see it when you went to the store? Did the stock market booming do anything for you in your personal life? And if it did, I'm happy for you. But if you're like me and it didn't, I say it takes time. I say instead of everybody already hollering about things, and I don't mean the people that is like me who support Trump is hollering about it. It's all this false narrative uh, that they are always trying to put forth. So Canadian lumber mills are owned by China. That's see, Ellie, that's but it's the same all over. Uh, we have a lot of Chinese people or Chinese not people companies because we all know who actually has something to do with Chinese companies. But they they own things in this country too. But let's say it is a Chinese company, but they're building it here. It's kind of like Honda. Honda got smart. So to break into the big three, Ford, Chrysler, and Chevy, uh, to get into that market for the American public to start accepting their cars, uh, make the car an American car. How do you do that? You build it here. So the mindset changes over a period of time that when you're purchasing a Honda, you're supporting an American job. So, you know, that's we'll get on to the next subject. I didn't really want to, and it is a complicated subject. So I just hope people take a pause, take a breath. Um, and I'm getting ready to say, Minnesota, you are right. The price of eggs are already coming down. And people think that egg pricing had something to do with the economy. Part of that is true, but the massive hike in the egg prices had to do with the supply uh, ability because Biden's administration killed off millions of chickens, and that caused a spike in prices in eggs. But when we start seeing other things at the store come down too, that's you'll get a good uh, economic temperature of the country as far as food prices, energy prices, uh, gas prices will be because everything, whether it's diesel fuel or gas, everything gets around this country, around the world, uh, because of the cost of fuel. So when the cost of fuel comes down, that's then energy prices will come down, and which it makes it easier or less expensive to get products to the stores to you. Whether you do everything through mail order or you actually go and purchase something from Walmart or whatever directly, um, or you buy something from Amazon, as things start to come down, people will start noticing that difference. And then all this saber rattling that's going on right now and this gloom and doom, because you ever notice whenever the left talks about something the right does, people are going to die. It's either people are going to die, it's a constitutional crisis, um, you know, and the new one, unelected official. I mean, they find these little things they want to to attach their argument to that really is a lie in most cases. So we'll go see 100 million chickens. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. 100 million. I didn't know the exact, but I knew it was. I said a few million, but yeah, 100 million. That's a lot. But yeah, but see, it made a difference in the prices of eggs. Without chickens, you ain't no eggs. But and it takes time to hatch little chicklets and have them, grow up to be able to produce eggs again and that kind of thing. So it takes time. Everything takes time. Nothing is. He's been in office for less than 2 months, and they're acting like everything he's done. We won't really know the effects of everything for middle of summer and by the end of summer before we'll start seeing the effects on a lot of stuff. And some of this stuff you won't see for a year. What effect it'll actually make. Now they're talking about all the jobs that are going away in the government. There's all these manufacturing jobs coming to this country. There's already manufacturing jobs here that are being filled by illegal aliens, and if they're not considered illegal, they're here under temporary status. So you handle one problem, it pretty much answers the question of the other problem. So you got to give it time. It's a balancing act, people. It really is. So I think what I was getting ready to start talking about after the tariff thing was I believe I started talking about the director of what everyone called the previous director of the USAID has pretty much asked the remaining employees of that department to start deleting and destroying documents and records. You'd think there would be some kind of a law, because I think once you set forth an actual official investigation on something, and I know when I worked in the corporate world, whenever there was a situation where, say, a lawsuit, I'd get a email saying that my company telling me that I was not allowed to delete emails, amount of previous records that I had that I may keep in paper document or whatever. I was not allowed to get rid of. Same way for so, but if it is, which I think it is, they should be something that they can do towards this person who's instructing these current employees who are still employed. Hey Al, good night. Glad you could stop by. I know it's late, guys. I didn't. I'm not going to be on here much longer. Yeah, Minnesota. You would think that DOGE does have those, but they also this individual something about, and some of you guys may know better than me because I only caught a tip of the story at the end, about even asking these remaining employees to not leave their laptops in the office. Yeah, you're right, Spike. Libtards do not care about the law. And the reason why they don't care about the law is because they've not had to follow the law It's so funny how they say no one's above the law, but yet uh, the law is the first thing they break, and they act like they're doing it in the pursuit of real justice. That law is unjust. I cannot abide by a law that's unjust. And usually nothing happens to them because it requires a little bit of backbone uh, and somebody who has a different point of view than them. Because if they have the same point of view, they're going to agree with them. And some laws you should follow, some laws you shouldn't. Yeah, because no one's above the law. Yeah, that's true, unless you're, you know, on the left a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully they'll be able to do something about this individual who requested this. And let's be honest, if any of them are dumb enough to do that, shame on them. Shame on them. Because they should not just lose their jobs, they should lose their freedom too. Because these are records that are not theirs. It's kind of when you do something at work, everything you do at work, the emails you send, the documents that you fill out or whatever, it's property of that company. They're not yours. So when you work for the government and you have records of transactions and all this other stuff, emails, whatever it may be, those are documents of the government, not yours. So they don't have the right to determine what they can or cannot keep. It should be given permission by the department head, which in this point right now is Marco Rubio, before they do something like that. They can't just take it upon themselves to do it. That's not how that works. So a lot of these government employees, they don't know what it's like uh, to work in a private sector, and that's how government has needed to be ran for a very, very long time, and that's how it's going to start being ran going forward. You have to hold your just like a corporation has to hold themselves accountable. You hear this all the time to the stockholders. Well, the U.S. taxpayer is the stockholders of the government, so they have to hold themselves accountable to us. They've never had to do that before. They're shocked. Matter of fact, they're damn pissed that you should even ask for such a thing. Who do y'all think you are? Just because you pay my salary, you all ain't shit. I don't have to listen to you. I listen to the Democratic Party, not you. And some of the Republican parties, wink, wink. So, you have that. And then you have, let's see, what else I got here in my notes, notes to be having. Oh, I got a video I want to play, guys. Going back to what I was saying, like the Jasmine Crockett's of the world and all these other libtards in the Democratic Party, all these anti-Americans, when they tell you about DOGE being a constitutional crisis and Elon Musk is illegitimate and, he's just in there to make himself even richer. Okay. Whenever I hear that, I have to, I almost throw up in my mouth a little bit. Because let's be honest, nobody who's had to deal with the stuff, and he knew he kind of had it. He didn't think it was going to be to this level because he thought he was doing a good thing for America. He did not think that it would. He knew there would be some kind of opposition from the left, but did not think that the American people would fall for that, like some of them are. But a lot of them are paid through Act Blue, which is there. And there's so many. We could talk about a ton of stuff every night. Act Blue, all the stuff that you know It's going to be a problem with them coming down the line here. And it's just the veins of how these people are paying themselves through all these different entities is vast. The swamp is deep. They shouldn't even call it a swamp. Tell me what the deepest point in our oceans is, and that's the DC government. Whatever point that is in the world, the deepest point of the ocean, that's our U.S. government now. It's not a swamp, people. A swamp you can stand up and walk through. This shit goes so deep, you're gonna drown. And President Trump and Elon Musk and them are trying to raise the floor up, trying to raise the sea level up, or not the sea level, but the floor level up, so that American people can get their head above water. They're trying to fix the budget. So and like I said, there is so much to this. I could probably do a live stream for 24 hours straight and still not be done talking about all the different ways they have to fuck us. It's just an impossibility. You know what I mean? There's just so much. But then I get off on these little different tangents and stuff, and I try not to. I try to stay on point. I try. And I'm sure somebody who doesn't watch my stuff a lot, if they ever click on one of these videos of these live streams, they probably go, "Who in the hell's listening to this dude? Jesus Christ!" Because I'm not a professional. yeah, it's Papa. I don't even. So yeah, a motorcycle cop writing someone a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt. Yeah, yeah. There's irony in that one. That is true. Let me throw you up this video of the next time you hear some politician saying that the savings that Elon and them are finding ain't shit. Just listen to the perspective on how much ain't shit. I'm gonna play this video. Let me get to it.
You people that are really mad at DOGE for finding all this money, and you actually believe to say, "Oh, the billions are fine," then it's not that much money. I broke it down so maybe you can understand it a little bit. If I gave you $1 billion and I $1,000 every single day until that $1 billion was completely gone, how long to live in order to spend that 1 billion? 2,740 years and all of the money. You could have started when the Roman Empire was ready to fall, and you'd still be spending that money today. And I broke it down in case you didn't understand that. I broke it down a little more, so maybe you can understand it a little better. The average human being lives approximately 77 years. Approximately. If I wanted you to spend $1 billion, all of it, in that 77 years that you're on this earth, how much money do you think you'd have to spend every single day to make sure it's all gone before you're gone? $35,580 every single day. Wouldn't that be horrible? Oh man, I got to spend $35,000 today to reach my goal by the time I'm 77 years old. So the next time a politician says, the billions of dollars that DOGE is finding, it's not really that much money. Wake up, America.
So, does that break it down for you a little bit better? Does that make you want to look at Jasmine Crockett and the people just like her and go, are you a fucking idiot? You're a college educated woman. You're highly educated. Even though you sound like a ghetto hood right now, you was raised in private schools. That $35,000 a day that you would have to spend to spend that $1 billion in a 77-year lifespan, that's what your parents spent a year on your private schooling when you was a kid. And yet you have the highest education. You became a lawyer. Now you're a congresswoman. And you're telling the American public the government ain't in the business of giving out money. $5,000 per person. That's something that's not even worth giving out. What's that going to do for the average American? Is what the woman actually had to say. And when she was talking about if you're looking at the layoff or whatever, she was talking about a government employee being laid off, not an everyday employee working at a regular 9-to-5 job. She was more concerned about her government friends, not you. So the next time you hear them say, well, USAID, that's 0.6% of the national budget. What they found ain't shit. What they find? So far, they're finding they're averaging $4 billion a day in savings. A day. So when the left hollers this shit, now the big argument now is the Department of Education, the employees have been told to vacate their offices by 6 p.m. and not to come into work tomorrow because they're doing an audit. Everybody's acting like, well, if you close down the Department of Education, that stops funding to the schools from the federal level to the state level. No, it don't. The Department of Education, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was started by Jimmy Carter. We didn't have the Department of Education before then. States handled their own education. And I hate to say it, the education was far better back then than it is today. With all this money dumped into these states from the federal government, and then they say, well, the Department of Education requires certain standards that forces these states to follow these certain standards. How's that working out? It don't matter how much money the federal government or the standards they set. All these areas in the country, these inner cities and stuff, they have the poorest schools. They have classes that are overflowing. A teacher cannot teach a class of 40 kids. You just can't do it. They've got to have a different system because it ain't the money. The money's not the problem. And the setting of standards. Let me tell you something. You can still set a standard. You don't need an entire Department of Education to have an expectation of what each state should do as far as state testing goes. Yeah, Minnesota, that's what happens. Property taxes goes towards local schools. And, if you're in a well-off area, look how nice the schools are. Look how small the classrooms are. You go into an inner city and look how poor ran the school is, for one thing, because usually they're ran by libtards, let's be honest. And the quality of education sucks. So that we don't need a federal Department of Education to have quality education. There's all kinds of ways and in other areas that this stuff can be monitored and controlled. It does not have to have, and let's be honest, the Department of Education is as corrupt as the rest of them, because what they're probably going to find out is how much money was filtered back through, oh, without lack of better term, I'm going to say projects for higher learning in K through 12 uh, to improve education, which don't improve nothing ever. And the school union, or the teachers unions, I'm sorry, they put a stranglehold on quality of education because they have no fear of losing their jobs unless they do something egregious. And even then, the unions try to fight for their jobs. Unless they do something egregious, they have no fear of losing their job. There's no accountability in anything that is government related, and a school teacher is a government employee. So if you want higher test scores, first you got to at least set the teachers up for success, not set them up for failure. There's plenty of good quality teachers out there, but you got to give them an environment to be able to do good teaching. And you got to take away a lot of the unnecessary curriculum that they have forced upon them. I say it again, it's got to be a KISS system. Keep it simple, stupid. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Most students today can't even balance a checkbook. That was something that was required when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Learning about the three branches of government, it was an actual, class. It wasn't just, it's just so many things that they've gone away from. They've emphasized on what your gender is and who you want to have sex with, and teach you how to have sex with them. That's something I never thought would be taught in school. Or critical race theory, which it's gone away, but it's not gone. It's not gone. So the Department of Education, for all that banging on the drum, gonna destroy the quality of education in this country. Well, I hope so. I don't know about y'all, but I hope so. Because the quality we have right now sucks. Our government needs to do things different, because what they're doing now don't work. It's kind of like what's the best way I'm trying to explain this? You should want people to do better. You should want your children to have a better chance in becoming productive, law-abiding adults. Kind of hard to do in the environment that they have now in school. All they care about now is your social uh, justice topics and stuff like that, not reading, writing, and arithmetic, history, civics, and gym class. You know how many students don't actually do gym anymore? And don't get me wrong, I mean, I hated gym, not because I was a big kid, and you know, it was kind of hard running them laps around the basketball court. But you literally can bring a note and never have to take a gym class for the rest of the year because you're uncomfortable. It's you don't you don't want to do that. It's because your uh, anxiety of performing around other people because you're afraid to be uh, you're afraid not to be as competitive as the next person, and that's kind of made us worse because they're not taught to compete anymore. They're just they're not even used to be. What is that? The participation trophies. They ain't even required to participate anymore. Just show up. Said I was here in attendance today. Leave me alone. Don't bother me. I've done the best that I can do. I showed up. We can do better. The Department of Education, whether it goes away or don't go away, it needs at least to be shrunk. All these many thousands and thousands of positions in all these government departments are not necessary. They're just not. We had better education before the Department of Education was developed, but it was a Democrat president that thought it was something we needed to do to improve overall standards through the whole country, to improve test scores. It hasn't improved anything. So with that, I think I've got through all my notes. My notes was meant to be in concert with going having conversation with other people in the in the live chat. So I've stretched this on long enough. Guys, I appreciate it. It was the last minute idea to jump on here tonight. Uh, I'll see you tomorrow sometime. I'll jump on during the day and do some kind of a live stream. Probably not during the day. It might be tomorrow night. It may be in the first thing in the morning. I never know anymore. The only thing I can guarantee is Sundays, or actually Saturday nights on Rumble, Killer Carl's live stream. Be there, be square on that one. That's a good time. And then Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Apparently, I never say that. I never say Eastern time because it's part of the country I'm in, Eastern time. It will not be on my car channel. If you watch this on Empty Pockets Garage YouTube channel, subscribe to my other channel because these live streams are going away from my car channel. They are no longer going to be there. So if you want to participate in the live streams, it's Jimmy Pockets is my other YouTube channel. And if you really want to get serious with it, join me on Rumble. Give me a follow on Rumble. Empty Pockets Podcast. People always ask, well, why do you use Empty Pockets? because when I started my YouTube channel, I was, well, I still am. I was out of the workforce, so my pocket stayed empty. And I remember back in the day when I was a kid, raised by a single mother, how I hustled to earn money and trade services, because I did work on cars too, to get car parts and stuff I needed for my car and to keep my hot rod running. So I was able to do it with empty pockets back then. So I decided, since I was on disability and I had the inability to earn money, and also the harder task it is to physically do stuff, I decided to go back to my original roots, which was doing things with empty pockets. Quick story of why I call it Empty Pockets. Empty Pockets Garage, Empty Pockets Podcast. The Jimmy Pockets, that came from the Haitian deal. People thought I was monetized with my car channel when that video popped off. 2.3 million hits. It was not monetized. So they kept saying, well, you ain't Empty Pockets no more. We just call you Jimmy Pockets now. Nah, not the case. So, but the nickname stuck. So, Jimmy Pockets on YouTube. Follow me. Or subscribe to me, however you want to say it. Follow me on Rumble. Subscribe to me on YouTube. However you want to do it. I'll be on both. But some content will be on Rumble only. And for those who know about the community guidelines on YouTube, understand why some of these conversations are only going to be on Rumble. So I plan on doing a separate deal just for Rumble. I want to get a little bit more people following me. And I'm getting there, but I need more followers to be part of the partnership program. So once I get get my numbers up a little bit more on Rumble, then it will be Rumble only content. I'll still do my YouTube and Rumble together, but then I'm going to only do Rumble content. Oh yeah, thanks Minnesota. Give me a thumbs up too. I never think about it. I'm very bad at self-promoting, guys, as you can tell. But yeah, give me a thumbs up. Give me all those other things I just talked about. For some of you guys, I won't see tomorrow if you don't log in when I'm on. Of course, it'll always be the recording portion of that. Saturday night, I'll see some of you. Sunday night, I'll see the rest of you, if not all of you on here, which I hope so. As somebody says, I got to get the gab. So come in, hang out, listen to me gab. Till next time, guys, this is James. I'm out of here.